Okay, here we are in Terragen4, actually Terragen 4.15 I think it is, the latest version. So what we want to do is import our terrain in. So make sure you're in the terrain tab. We'll go add and we'll go heighfield load file. This is our Moon 3, the one we exported out. So I'll go open, give it a minute to load. Okay, the first thing you're going to say, well, where is it? I don't see it anywhere. Why isn't it there? The main thing you've got to do is adjust your height field shader. Okay, so double click on it and there'll be a displacement shader there. I found that 150, somewhere between 100 and 150, you've got to raise that up to get your surface to show. So straight away, as soon as I've done that, you can see this little picture over here. You can see the creators have come there as well. So that means we're right in the middle. Another thing I found you probably should do is just mess around with the size of and the density of this. I don't know whether this actually works or not. But we'll zoom out a bit to have a look. And sometimes you just got to click this guy off and on, and you can see the okay, so that's some of the you might have to mess around with the height on this. We'll just do a quick test render to see what this is like. Okay, you can see it's reasonably like what we'd got in World Creator. Maybe we need to zoom out a bit more, get a better shot. That's Alt middle right mouse button to zoom in and out. Right, this is the edge of the field right here. We can just see it. So we'll just maybe zoom in a little bit like that. Give it another test render. Okay, I'm thinking that the height field should go down a bit, so I'm going to bring it back down to 100. So displacement will go 100. Okay, we'll do another test render. Okay, I played around a little bit with the height, and about 120 in the height field seemed to be the optimum size for it right there. So we'll start spicing this up a bit. It's a bit boring with dull old grey there, and the sky, that looks nothing like a moonscape, which is basically black. So what we'll need to do with that is go into our atmosphere. In our atmosphere settings, we basically want to take off all the blue additives, pump that down to 0, and pump this, like the blue density, that can go right down as well. Haze, there's no real atmosphere on the moon, so I wouldn't, I'd put that down a fair bit too. The colour, you don't want to totally have nothing there, or else when the sun goes there, it'll be just this bright dot. So lighting will we'll go to our sunlight, and we'll elevation, let's see, where are we? It's a bit hard to tell where the sun is at the moment. I'm a bit of a newbie when it comes to Terragen as well. Heading, so it should float around in the background somewhere. Okay, the easiest way I found to show where the sun is, the little yellow dot at the top there is actually the heading and that for the sun. So you can sort of see it just moving around there, and also the elevation. You can just see a dot in there, that's all. So we'll give this a quick render just to see how's that caused anything. Okay, I mucked around a little bit with the atmosphere and brought it up a bit more haze and a bit more of that, and you can, so it makes it easier to see where you can put the sun now. Looks like the disc is a little bit too small for me, so what I'm going to do is maybe bump it up to about 3, and as you can see in here, it bumps up the size as well. Again with the heading, now you can see how it's moving around with the heading in that, so it's a bit easier. Okay, so now we've got the sky. Let's maybe bump down the atmosphere a little bit. Give that another test render. Okay, that's a bit better. I know it looks a bit like the moon, but for some reason NASA, it was a white sun on the moon when they filmed it. So I'm just simulating what NASA did, what they captured on the moon in the first place. So it was white lighting and on a dull landscape. So what we need to do next is add a couple of textures to this, easily done. So in our directly under our terrain will be a shaders tab. So what we want to do there, we just want to right click, create shader, surface shader, and we want surface layer. So just click on that straight up. Now you can run the color node through it if you want to. That'll that will change colors. You can give you an overall color change if you run this straight through it, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to get your compute terrain, goes to the input node there, and then the very output one will plug straight into the planet. Okay, and so we just want some simple tileable textures to put on there. We'll just go right click, add color shader and image map. So I've got subscriptions to Megascan, so I've got a few things to choose from. So actually the moon's a nice a greyish texture. Double click it. Now you pull this straight into the color function node. Double click it, and usually around somewhere between 150 to 200 is a good tiling size. So punch those in. You do, because this is a seamless texture, we want repeating on and off like that. So now that should cover most of our landscape. We'll give that another render. Okay, the textures are applied. I also copied the same material and plugged it into the displacement function of the surface layer. So that gave the extra little bumps there. It does look a bit dark in the shadow. I think we can fix that up in atmosphere. Is it lighting? I think it could be lighting. Environmental light, I think. Strength and surface. Just okay, you can see it's slightly brighter in the shadows now. We can bump it up a bit more if we want to. If we wanted to give it the sunlight a little bit of a bluish tinge, we can do that as well. Again, you only have to move in small amounts here. Even that's probably too much. Render again. And as you can see, it gives the surface a bit more of a bluish tinge to it. So we'll just set up for the final render. We'll get in a bit closer and have a bigger image, of course. So we'll just go into our render tab. I'll just lock the aspect ratio. Oh, let's go 1600 by 900. We can also bump up the the micro details as well. I usually like bumping it up to about around 0.7. Now anti-aliasing is a strange one. It depends on what sort of look you're trying to get. If you want a sharper looking landscape, you have it lower, but if you want smoother textures, you'll go up higher. I tend to keep it very low. Don't need motion blur on. We've got do shadows, that's on. Let's go back. And move down a bit. get nice and close to this crater here. Okay, we'll set up for the final render. Everything's there, and if you're moving your camera in Terragen, you've always got to hit this little button here, copy view to render camera. So, or else you just lose your position of where you were. So click on that, and that's automatically copies the position of the camera. Okay, this is the final render. Okay, and this is the final render. I bumped up the environmental light a bit so the shadows weren't pure black, and I swapped around the maps, the texture maps, so it was a bit of a different look. But it took about four and a half minutes to render. Now that's about it. Like I said, this is more for me to remember if I forget certain things, but somebody else might get a few tips out of this. And thanks for watching.